I can do this though.
Okay, you're good to go.
So welcome to the Town of Groton Complete Streets Advisory Committee regular meeting for January 2026. This is our first meeting of the year. And we're going to start with roll call of members. We've got Tom Olson, Brian Kent. We've got Cindy Berry remote and Lori Hendrickson remote. And we have some guests who I'd like.
Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elaine. Patrice Kronatowski, you're here. Sorry. That's everybody, right? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we have some visitors. If you all would introduce yourselves, please. Why don't we start with you, JC?
Jean-Claude Amboise, guy about Groton, RTM member, involved in lots of other volunteer efforts around here. So I'm happy to be able to participate in this and see what we can do to tie this bow together.
Hi, I'm Laura Amboise. I don't know if she's there.
Yep.
Hi, Laura Amboise. I'm a Groton middle school teacher, so just in case everyone needs some middle school aged insight, I'm here.
Clint Kennedy, 152 Cedar Road, citizen, tech director for Groton Public Schools.
Deb Jones,
Sure.
Planning and Development, the staff.
Jeff Foster, I'm the town engineer and currently serving as acting public works director while we seek a new permanent director of public works.
Great. Okay. So let's just poll the committee. Have any of you had any communications you'd like to report? No. Okay. None. All right then. Next up is approval of December minutes.
I move acceptance of the December minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes? No? Okay. So all in favor of approving minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Thank you. So let's get right into new business. The first item I just wanted everyone to be aware of, if they were not already, is that the Connecticut Department of Transportation is involved in an update of their active transportation plan. So it's been going on for about a year now, and it's scheduled to be completed by this summer. And what that involves is a comprehensive look at the state of Connecticut and at the condition of state facilities, which involve right-of-ways, roads, bridges, transit lines, for uses considered active transportation. And those include people walking, so sidewalks and trails that are in state right-of-ways, people biking, so bicycles on roads, bicycles in right-of-ways owned by the state, transit users, and then all other people that are, interacting with the transportation system in other ways. And it involves mapping, it involves public outreach, it involves eyes on the ground, it involves a lot of planning. And you can find information on the Department of Transportation website and learn a little bit more about it if you're interested. But it does offer, as I would say, change for the department is really a much clearer and prioritized focus on active transportation in the Connecticut system, which hasn't really been on that radar like it is today in any time in the history of Connecticut's Department of Transportation. So it's a really important project that they're involved with, and it's going to form the basis of a lot of really great improvements for communities. And it becomes incumbent on communities to some extent to go out there and advocate for implementation of some of the things that you may see in these documents. So it's real important that the planning departments and public works departments in all of the municipalities, so like you guys, and the regional governments, which in our case is Southeast Connecticut Council of Governments, that they are advocating for better better facilities for people that walk and bike and use transit. The next item is a presentation about complete streets that was put together a couple of years ago by the Connecticut Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board. The advisory board, it's about 15 years old, and it was formed when the state adopted a complete streets policy. So back in like 2009, I'm a member of the board, and we meet monthly with DOT, and so we're apprised regularly on what's going on, like with the active transportation plan and other things that the department is doing, and so we advocate for these issues. But what I'd like to do now is share the screen. So
Do you want to run it or you just want me to do it?
if I can, yeah, can I
There you
just
go.
do it?
Yeah, of course. There you go.
That would be great. So I thought we'd start the year with
But you need to share your screen first. Go back to the Zoom
okay, sorry.
and then, nope, the one with Lori on it. Click up there and then hit share. And then pick there you go.
Okay.
Then, yeah,
I thought
then-
that, all right,
yeah.
let's get rid of that.
Yep.
Since it's the first
you can do
meeting,
that. There we go. All good.
can I get the full screen or is that the extended? Can I get,
Drag that far in the middle.
Mhm.
there we go.
Yep.
Slide that over.
And then you can minimize Cindy and Lori if you like. Don't minimize. Yeah, right.
All right,
Permission to minimize.
There it is.
okay,
So you can hear us.
okay, so will this bar diminish here in a second or is it always?
It'll go down at some point.
So.
Okay, can I get rid of that?
Yeah.
Can I go full, or that's it?
I think if you go bottom right, third icon up, you can go full screen all the way to the right. 1, 2, up, right there, try that one.
Full screen mode. There we go. Here we go. Ta-da. Okay. So this is just a presentation on what are complete streets in Connecticut, and it really features Connecticut. So basically all the images are Connecticut images, and if you were to like search for complete streets information on the internet, you would find it from all over the world. And so we spent quite a bit of time collecting examples from the state of Connecticut. This, for example, is downtown New Britain. And it's still there. Let's see. So where do I advance? Where are they though?
It's all the way to the left of the center. I see.
That one right there? Ah, here we go. Okay.
That'd be on this page.
I really want this to go away. Oh, well. Okay, so people are the equivalent of operators of the road. So like I mentioned in my preamble a minute ago, folks that are out there in the right of way that you might not normally think of as, transportation users are also part of the system. Like, so folks that are mobility challenged, that may be confined to wheelchairs, people that are blind, of course, cyclists, pedestrians, transit users, perhaps that are combining trips with bikes. They're all part of the network. Advance. Just a click. Okay. So the National Complete Streets Coalition defines complete streets as streets that are designed and operated to enable safe access for all users. So basically what I've been telling you, all ages and abilities, able to safely move along and across a complete street. This is the law that was passed in Connecticut back in 2009. There we go. It applies not just to state projects, but it also applies to municipal projects. So projects here in Groton. Some of the features of a complete street could be bike lanes, could be bus shelters, could be multi-use pathways. When it's running parallel to a roadway, a multi-use pathway is typically referred to as a side path. Crosswalks, of course, there's so many versions of crosswalks. Some are effective, some are invisible. And then there are very urban environments where bicyclists, pedestrians, et cetera, interact. These are some of the benefits. Safety is always number one. The roads just really need to be made safer for everybody. And Connecticut has not been moving in the right direction with respect to bicycle and pedestrian safety, despite the best efforts. Cost effectiveness is always an issue, regardless of the kind of project. But when a complete street is implemented, it really, in the long run, and saves money for the transportation system. These can increase economic viability or vitality, of course, quality of life, public health, equity, et cetera, environment, transportation efficiency, and sustainability. The complete streets have to be considered in all stages of the projects. It's not at the end where you just say, let's add a sidewalk. It really has to be part of the planning process, part of the public process. There are many projects where a community may determine that a sidewalk is needed, but if the residents that live along that roadway aren't fully informed and involved in the process, they can be very surprised and become opponents of things like sidewalks. Okay, come on. Now what's going on?
It escaped. Get out of that.
So we're back to the,
Okay,
so hit the, yeah,
okay. I think I'm as far over as I can go. Let's figure that. All right. No,
Scroll down.
let's just use this. No. Oh, okay, we do that way. All right. Okay, I'll just go with this. Some of the elements, I think we've really talked about this, but some that you may not think about are open spaces, public places, plazas, landscaping, public art on streets, outdoor dining, entertainment. Those are some of the implements or features that in a more urban area you would find helping with the safety and livability of streets. We have walkability principles, we have bikeability principles. Walkability have to do with well-designed networks, safe, convenient crossings, in particular crossings. Visibility, pedestrians see vehicles and drivers see pedestrians. Similar for bike principles, very similar. Pedestrian access, people need to be able to cross the street conveniently and safely. There need to be continuous smooth surfaces. What we find in the United States is that the ADA law has requirements that really make crossings and sidewalks and everything uniform. And there are pros and cons to that. The pros are if you're in a wheelchair or if you're in some way mobility impaired, you really can move around more safely. But it kind of takes some of the richness and personality out of sidewalks. Everyone that goes to, say, to Europe and walks on old streets notices just kind of the richness of the paving and of the environment that they're walking in. And that has some kind of particular benefit that we're just not allowed to implement in public places. So there's a little bit of a paradox there. But lighting is important, signage is important, minimizing the crossing distances. There are some roads where the crossings are so far apart that folks end up just crossing wherever they think it's convenient, and that can be very dangerous. For bicycle facilities, there's a lot of measures and facilities that can be retrofitted or can be built new, like boulevards and bike lanes and pathways, bike racks, etc. So this is just to give you a graphic, kind of what a 4-lane roadway looks like before any complete streets improvements. This is what many 4-lane roadways that are under design and transformation to complete streets look like. And that often involves reducing the lanes to 2 directional lanes with a center turn lane where a center turn lane is warranted. Mid-block crosswalks, bike lanes. It often turns out that the efficiency of the roadway is not penalized by changing 4 lanes down to 2 lanes. But what is improved without a doubt is the safety. There's fewer crashes and fewer pedestrian bicycle crashes. There's a lot of inherent dangers with 4-lane roadways for pedestrians, especially at crossings where visibility can be blocked by another vehicle. And so they can be very, very dangerous. The majority of pedestrian injuries and fatalities in Connecticut occur on these kind of 4-lane, we refer to those big roads as arterial roads. They've just got lots and lots of vehicular activity across a wide right of way, and it's very difficult to cross safely and to be in there with anything other than a car. So here's a real example of a complete street transformation. The before is on the right in this case. So this is North Main Street, West Hartford. It's a 4-lane road. Very, very hostile environment for bicyclists, pedestrians. This is post transformation. You can see the bike lanes on each side, the center turn lane, and the travel lanes. It's one of several now in the state where this has been done. So this is just to give you some more images what this looks like. The 2 on the right are local. So this is Route 117 in Ledyard, which was transformed from just a state highway with no walkways to some on-street parking, which never existed before. You see a lot of good lighting, wide sidewalks, more of a shoulder, and some public spaces.
The 2 on the right.
The 2 on the right. So this is the
Is that near where that old school was?
yeah,
Okay.
so this is the Ledyard Police Department right here. So yeah, so it's right in the center near Holdridge's
Yeah,
and
right.
the shopping center.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so that's a local example. These, I believe, in Hartford. There's such a thing as a contra bike lane, which is what this is, which is on a one-way street that's wide enough. A bike lane can coexist that allows cyclists to go in the opposite direction of the cars. So cars are one way towards you, and bicycles are allowed to ride against the flow. That's hence the name contra flow. And it's a way to insert bicycle infrastructure just by painting lines on roads that are large enough to accommodate it. Here's another example. This is in Hartford. You can see that space on the left. And then, of course, there are all forms of pathways. This is in New Haven, where I've been quite a bit lately. So this is the connector in and out of the city to I-95. If you've been down there going in and out of New Haven, you've seen these green lanes. So this is kind of the universal iconography for bike pathways in high volume roads in urban areas. So you can give a bike lane a green paint with the Sharrow. That's what this is referred to as. At the crossings, you get the kind of the dash of the green, and they've also separated the bicycle lane from the sidewalk pathway. So this is a really good example of a complete street in an urban area. In a more urban or rural area, you can take a shoulder. If it's large enough, you can paint off this buffer strip, and then you can have a one-way bike lane theoretically on each side of the highway. So this is a pretty large divided highway. So there's bike lanes on the right side here, and then across the road, on the other side of the island, or the boulevard, there's another And then here's a very urban application where just the pavement is changed. So the bicycles get asphalt, it's black, and the pedestrians get concrete, and it's surrounded by nice landscaping, and it's just a comfortable, safe place to walk and bike. Intersection treatments, like I just said, here's more New Haven on the right. I'm not sure which one's here on the left. This is a two-way bikeway. So this road had enough width that a two-way bikeway could be put on the pavement, probably within the existing right-of-way, within the existing paved roadway, just by reducing the 4 lanes down to 3 lanes with the center turn lane. That gave the designers enough space to do a two-way bikeway. More intersections. This bottom one, you can see a lot of landscaping. Both of these are New Haven again. Roundabouts are really important, and you may know that roundabouts are proposed for some places in Groton. And when they are well designed and they incorporate bicycle and pedestrian use, they end up looking like this with crosswalks and shoulders, and they really are safer by far than 4-way intersections or 3-way intersections with traffic signals and lots of conflict points where you can have crashes. So just a quick recap. You know, the benefits are number one, always safety is the justification. So when you're advocating for a complete street project, really you need to understand how it's making the project safer, because that is the basis of most funding criteria. And then after that, these are some of the others that are less tangible, but also very important. And we'll just go through this more quickly. Speed is a big factor in pedestrian crashes. You may have seen some of this information before, but at a low speed crash, a pedestrian is much more likely to survive with fewer injuries than at a high speed crash. It kind of makes common sense here, but it is what ends up killing more people on these big roads. In the larger towns, really in most towns that have transit, the buses, the public buses have bike racks. And so they get more use in places like New Haven and Hartford, but these are some examples. This is Union Station in New Haven, where sheltered bike parking has been installed, so that if you're biking from home, say to the station to catch the train, you can securely park your bike, and it's out of the weather. There are also bike lockers. This appears to be at the station as well. So an alternative, if you say you've got a really expensive bike and you don't want to just leave it out there chained to a. Now, some of you may have seen images from like Holland, where the transit stations are just overflowing with bikes because so many people ride their bikes to the transit station. Say if you work in Amsterdam, but you live in Leiden, you might ride your bike to the train station in Leiden, where there are thousands of other bikes just like yours parked in these very well designed and constructed bike parking areas. Maybe we'll get there someday. Economic vitality. There's a pseudo field known as bikeonomics, which demonstrates people that ride their bicycles to do their local chores or errands and shopping actually spend kind of at least as much or more money in local businesses than folks that drive, because they shop more frequently when they have good access, safe access to the local businesses. Walkable neighborhoods increase property values. You've probably heard some of these bits of information. I'll just go in here. Quality, economic vitality, quality of life. I think we all know inherently a place like this, when we are there, when we experience it, that it really has something special going for it. And when we're walking down a barren street with no personality or no place to sit or no shade. We don't feel comfortable, but it's hard to kind of analytically look at these places until we're just immersed in them to know what the real benefit is. And the transformation can really be instantaneous if a place is taken from one extreme to the other. It will attract a lot of activity, a lot of investment, and it's really a benefit. Public health, of course. We know that, living in a place where it's safe and convenient to walk and bike will result in better health outcomes. That's kind of the basic tenet of public health. We know its impact on obesity. As far as schools are concerned, there's been an effort in Connecticut and other places to encourage more active transportation between home and school and back again. And in some communities, they organize things like walking school buses or biking groups. Walking school buses where a group of kids is chaperoned. They kind of all meet up on their street corners in their neighborhood, and then they're chaperoned by adults walking together to their school. Now we have more of a challenge at Groton, we understand, because we don't really have neighborhood schools anymore. So it's still possible, for kids that live in a neighborhood that are actually close to the school where they attend, that they could organize or be organized. And there is a Safe Routes to School organization in Connecticut that's funded by the State Department of Transportation. And we are in touch with the director of the Safe Routes to School program, and they are very interested in coming to Groton and providing any kind of support and resources that they have available. So we just have to ask, but we need to have the support and the kind of the organizational planning together before we contact them and ask them to come. There's also what's called Watch for Me CT. That's another organization at the state level that's partially funded by DOT and partially funded by public health funding through, I believe it's St. Francis Hospital. It's one of the healthcare organizations in Hartford, and they are also a resource. They will come to town. Both of those groups have attended this meeting remotely, and they've offered their help to us. So we want to encourage the local Groton school district to avail itself of some of these external resources so that this can be more of a convenient and safe alternative than having to be driven to school and back either by the bus or by parents. We also look for ways that these complete streets and other kinds of related activities can be implemented in neighborhoods and parts of communities where the infrastructure may not be applied as equally. So equity has been and always will be a part of a complete streets program for a community. Environmental impacts, there's a lot to be said about it. And I think we'll kind of leave it at this, that it reduces vehicular use and air pollution related to vehicle exhaust and a lot of other things that go along with better street design. We bugged in there. More images and this is just kind of fun to see. What is really is the main point is that single-use vehicles, a group of people, this many people, say 40 people, when each one's in their own car, they take up a whole city block. But when they're in a bus, they take up one vehicle, or if they're on bicycles, it's a little bit more. So it's just kind of giving you a sense of scale. So what you can do. Create an advocacy group. Well, Groton's done that. Be in contact with town's elected officials. Groton's done that. Communicate with neighboring towns. We try and do that. The town's legal traffic authority, we definitely are involved in a way that is effective here. The traffic authority in Groton is the town manager and the police chief and their members. They're would you call a member that's that's not actually ex officio? Yes, thank you. They are ex officio members of this committee. So Groton has really checked the boxes. We have a complete streets policy. So we're ahead of the trend, I think. We have the policy. Here's some more sources. All right, thank you. So that is just a good demonstration of what complete streets are, which is what we are all about. All right. So with
May I ask a
that,
question?
you certainly may.
I would recognize. So we do have a policy here in Groton that addresses this.
Yes, we
You
do.
mentioned, great. Is that part of our, and Deb, forgive me, the 10-year plan we're working on right now? That's,
It follows, yes, that is something that informs the plan of conservation and development, and there will be additional recommendations based on that come out of that thing.
awesome. Thank you.
Want to stop share? The red,
Oh, feel that.
right
There it
there,
is, yeah.
yes. Stop share. There
All
we go.
right. Okay. All right, so now this brings us to really the heart of today's meeting, which is to have a dialogue with representatives, members of the Groton education community. Yeah. So, we don't really have a protocol here today. We're mainly just here to get ourselves introduced to each other and to just start a dialogue. Hear your ideas, hear some of our ideas, and then we can move forward and maybe we can formulate some actual plans and activities. And so from what I understand, Clint, you've talked to some folks in the school district and kind of gotten some feedback on some activities. We know that the most eligible grades for these kinds of programs, like walking to school programs, are the elementary up through middle school. It's a little more challenging to get high school students involved in these sorts of activities. But there are some good examples that we can review for insight that have been implemented in other districts. So close to us in Ledyard, there's been a very successful bike club at the Ledyard Middle School with fantastic participation. And it's been active now for several years. And I think the secret sauce for it is that there is an educator there who's a physical education teacher, I believe.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, she's the tour de force in that program. Yeah.
right, who just has really been essential to that program's success. So I guess number one is we're looking for people in Groton who are maybe they've got the skills and they've got they're in the right place at the right time. So typically it is a physical education teacher that gets involved in like bicycle and walking safety and kind of club activities. And if you guys have any contacts with folks that are say in that world, that would be helpful. There is a organization that supports these bike club programs. It's called the Connecticut Cycling Advancement Program, CCAP. And they have a website, and they have a local employee named Lucas Huseman, who lives in Stonington, who actually, as a Stonington Public School student, he was involved in these bike clubs. He wasn't at Ledyard, but he was in a regional club that still exists. Here's a card from them. And so he's a source of information that, and support. I mean, he works for the organization that can help with grants for bicycles and all kinds of institutional support. There's established curricula for elementary school children to learn bicycle safety, and the safe routes to school people can come to a school and teach. There's an organization called Bike Walk Connecticut. They've been involved in these kinds of programs where they will come to a school and they'll help teach safety. It can be indoors or it can be outdoors. So it could be in a gymnasium if it's like, say, in March and the weather's not great. And you don't want to commit to an outdoor venue if you don't know whether the weather's going to be, agreeable or not. So oftentimes they're doing it in gymnasiums. It takes coordination planning, of course. If you're gonna dedicate your gymnasium for half a day, it needs to be planned out in advance at the particular school. But it's often individual schools where these take place. But of course, it requires a higher level of planning than just that one teacher. But I think that we can help enable that to happen. We just need to get all of us on the same page and talking to each other and talking about what might be available. Now, Clint, you told me about an idea that you had.
Yeah,
Which is we'd like to hear about.
Yeah, for full disclosure, so I've been part of this Go Groton group that members of the town have been part of and so forth. And Go Groton standing for Get Outdoors Groton. We got a grant, and a lot of that effort has been linking the schools with GOSA and having funds for transportation to get students opportunities to safely experience those trails and so forth. And I think it's been very successful, and we plan on continuing it and so forth. But I kind of see two buckets, if we can, at least in my mind, and how we're doing this, kind of curricular and extracurricular activities happening in our schools with our students, that the town, the full community supports. But then also kind of how do we, based on that presentation, kind of rewire our town so that we can take advantage of some of these transportation opportunities. We have this lovely campus up on a hill now, and that is a barrier to a lot of people, the conversation I've thought of. And so we joke around about, can we put a chairlift in, have its first stop at Grosso and then stop at middle school and then maybe a little one to high school. I was like, no, we'll do a magic carpet. And then I was like, well, actually, there are some places that have almost a foot pedal that goes on a conveyor belt by the curb. That's probably not going to happen. But, if we really want to start encouraging to school bikes and so forth, I think we would have to talk about something like that. So again, those two buckets are kind of how we've done it. We've had less success getting to programs where we think are viable to spend time and resources on for the transportation side. Maybe it's too big for us. Maybe we don't have the expertise or what have you. So we have been focused more on that curricular and extracurricular side of the house. Again, relationship with GOSA and getting students out there. The idea being they have all those benefits we discussed here, but hopefully we're building it more into curriculum aspects, and also they see it's an opportunity for them, their families outside of schools to do it. And hopefully that they're there then to protect and enjoy that nature as well in the future. So personally, the projects that we've talked about are more in that vein. Kristen Gallagher is the woman at Ledyard who is wonderful. And I've had everybody raves about their middle school program. But we do have resources. The town has put money into a pump track. We have Bluff Point there that is often frequented by bikers and so forth, and it's kind of central to our town. So from a brainstorming perspective, we would very much like to continue to discuss what those blockers are and how we can, whether it's staffing or actual equipment or so forth, the community center's right there too. All of that seems to be a hub. So a lot of the work that we've talked about would be centralizing it there somehow. So it can be used by schools, that's elementary, middle, and high school students, depending on the programming, but also a community resource because it's centrally located right there. So a lot of that's there. we've talked a lot about a lot of projects. I don't remember which one you and I talked about last time, but
It's okay. because
Okay, gotcha.
You're covering it really well.
yeah. And we've talked about other things. You know, one idea was using CK has that long driveway. It's 100, it happens to be 100 feet elevation
That was it.
from the bottom to the top. There's this idea of a bicycler doing an Everest, meaning you go find a hill and you go up and down it enough times to get to 29,454, whatever it is, 29,000 plus feet, and you've climbed Everest. So we've been talking about an idea where does the community come climb Mount Everest? People could be walking, people could be biking. There's that nice sidewalk along the way there. You could even open it up to some more serious bikers the first hour, and they could do some laps and time trials or something like that. So those are the types of activities that we've been talking about and put a toe in the water with the GOSA work, but are ready and have interest levels from staff, from parents, from students who have enjoyed this. So we need support, I think, and really a catalyst and a more team effort to get us to that next step. So that's, I would say, my big picture, broad view of this.
Great. And in Ledyard, since that's a great local example, the most participation is in a mountain biking club. And the high school has an open space adjacent to it with trails. So it's really easy for this program to meet after school, grab bikes out of, I think they have a shipping container or some sort of a shed, and into the trails they go. And that way there's no transportation involved. It's very safe. And there's kids of every age at that school, shape and size that are able to participate. And a large part of it is because the organizers went after some grants and they were successful, particularly with the Specialized Bicycle Company, and that they have a very large fleet of mountain bikes that were donated through that program. And so they have every size mountain bike. So for kids, so it works out really well. And what folks in Groton are thinking, Lucas from the CCAP, for example, is very interested in this, is that the location of the high school, middle school campus on the hill, directly adjacent to Haley Farm, Bluff Point, just a terrific trail network, is just the perfect recipe for a similar program. So if the schools and the individuals that were motivated to become involved were to get together, put together enough time and energy to submit some grant applications, which they would most likely be successful at, we could begin a really terrific bicycle program for ideally for middle school students, and perhaps go up from there. It's really the perfect setting for that sort of thing. And as you all know, the bond passed recently for improvement of the high school football complex and other sports complex at the high school. And in that menu of improvements that's in that scope of project work is a trail connection, a better trail connection to the Haley Farm Trail network. So that would be, what the cross country teams run through now and people walk through, it's just ragged, those connections. So this would create something really, really smooth and safe that would get people from the schools into the open space, which is what you've been talking about.
Yeah, if I could add one, in a perfect world, I would love to see, we've kind of sketched out and have not done any formal work on it, but kind of a loop trail around the entire campus. So that it could be a cross-country route, it could be a walking, hiking trail during physical education classes and so forth. One of the stoppers with our relationship with GOSA is they've been wonderful and volunteers and so forth, but we need to get to their property somehow.
Yeah.
Whereas we do have that land and so forth. So for us to get opportunities to use that during one period a day when you're scheduled for that, it needs to be walkable to that. We're not getting on buses. That's a half day. That's a full day or what have you.
For sure.
So if we even walked part of it and so forth, making sure there were any wetlands concerns, whatever.
Mhm.
There really is an opportunity. This is a small thing, but to have a perimeter trail that connects to where we're headed to Haley and Bluff and so forth really adds a lot of benefit because of that physical education. It could be multi-use. It could be hiking. It could be mountain biking. There could be obstacles that are off trail that could be really exciting to work on, assuming the lawyers let us do it, or whatever the case may be. So again, a lot of these ideas, and to your point, I think this is really a coordination effort. I think there's the willingness for a lot of different people. I think this can be done and with a very little expense. A lot of it with the grants that have already been gotten or the referendums that have been passed. It's really a coordination effort, and bringing those people together. And Go Groton is certainly willing to work on that. And I know that I work with a lot of teachers that are very excited about it as well.
Yeah, this is great information. I would just like to say that at Groton Middle School, the parent drop off and pickup rate is so high.
Mhm.
And there is that hill. So I only see about 3 people walking. I know of 1 student that rides his bike to Groton Middle School. But
Yeah.
after
Really
school,
good shape. Yeah.
there's a lot of kids who walk home together after school because they want to hang out, they want to talk. You've got the parks right there. So I know it's downhill and they have more energy in the afternoon, but there's a lot of kids who like to walk home after school. So I do like that idea of the walking clubs with a chaperone. Even if Groton, like this is just an idea, just a brainstorming idea, would hire a para even to walk, that some paras have really good relationships with the kids and live in, say, that Pequannock Bridge area that could walk with them. I don't know, it's just a brainstorming idea.
Can I build on your idea? Just
Yeah.
1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bike lockers or bike racks as part of the Sutton Park redo with maybe a security camera there just to cover it. And then a walking club from that up the hill. We're walking up the hill, which I know is hard, but is better sometimes. The biking up the hill seems to be a deal breaker for a lot of
Yeah.
people. I get it. I've biked up that hill a million times. It's not a lot of fun, but
Yeah.
so maybe a hybrid of that or something could be interesting.
And if they're walking together as a group and talking and doing their gossip and whatnot, they're not paying as much attention to the hill. So maybe they'll be more likely to walk up there. So I really like that walking club idea. And as someone who lives in the city of Groton, I feel like anytime I see child riding their bike in the city, like they don't know any of the bike rules. They don't have helmets. So I really like that. Now, who is that? The Safe School for the elementary curriculum?
So there's
Safe route to school.
Safe Routes to School is an organization. And if you just search for Safe Routes to School Connecticut, you'll find their information. I'm in touch with their director, and I can reach out to her. Her name is Bridget Moriarty, and they would be happy to meet with anyone in the town, and talk about what they can offer. They have state funding for this, and a lot of the more central and western towns have been taking advantage of this because they're more kind of tied into that larger community of towns that are more urban on one hand, and so the awareness of the need for safety maybe is higher in those more urban towns than it is in our town. We're a little bit more suburban and more used to driving everywhere. I guess we all are, sadly, but the closer you are to Hartford, it seems the more you are able to tap into some of the state programs just because of the awareness and the proximity. And we want to be, getting some of that generosity.
The one project that's happening that we could build that on or almost use as a model or a test to start is the Parks and Rec, with the help of the town, has secured a small grant for bikes that will be going to students in the Branford Manor neighborhood. And we are planning, I'm supporting, but it's others really doing the work, are talking about an event, I believe, don't quote me on this, please, in the March, April timeframe, where those bikes will be handed off, if you will. But there's going to be an event where with bike safety, maybe even kind of an obstacle course and so forth. Exact location, whether it will be in Branford Manor or it'll be in at Thames River. That's one of the things that we're discussing. Thames River, to me, the idea of we could do walking buses or bike buses. I mean, there's great videos out of Portland, Oregon of the bike buses with the music and so forth. That would be wonderful. I don't know if we're going to be able to get something like that done in Groton, but Thames River to me seems like a great place to start because of the proximity to those neighbors, the neighborhoods, the fact that there aren't too many hills. Notice I didn't say Catherine Kolnaski. Obviously, there's a lot of up and down to get into there. But that could be a really interesting place to start and to also build on as we build these projects out in the city. Because I don't want to forget our folks in the city when we start talking about the hill here and so forth. Biking from the city of Groton to Fitch is
Right.
non-trivial.
But if we do add these safe roads and whatnot.
Yeah.
If the kids get bikes, they get helmets, they learn the rules of the road. And then there's paths to go down the hill towards Catherine Kolnaski and then to Route 1
Mhm.
and then to the community center. I mean, kids, and it's so beautiful.
Mhm.
And Eastern Point, the kids have Eastern Point Beach right there. If you're under 18, you can get in for free. They could bike in for free. It's just something positive to do, but there's no bike lanes and
Right.
there's not a lot of bikes and
And
there's
there is-
definitely no rules.
I agree with you 100%, but there is some connective tissue. If we can get somehow from the city, Thomas Road is a thing and so forth, but to get to Pequannock Bridge where the bridge path is, or we call the bridge path, the one right along the Pequannock River, which connects which drops you right off where the pump track is now. And then you can go through Pequannock Bridge and you're there at Sutton Park and so forth. So
Okay.
I agree with you currently.
See,
It's
Thomas Road and
but
stuff.
there's pieces that we, again, as a coordinating effort, could start to piece together. So we're not starting from scratch, because I think you're right, but we're not starting from zero.
Hey, Brian, can I interject for a second?
Sure.
Going back to what you were saying about the Thames River and trying to find a place to do the safety things.
Mhm.
Do we still have the pattern for the traffic garden? And would the school district be willing to let us put another traffic garden at Thames River?
That's a good question. It's a really good question. So I don't know if you've seen it, but over at Claude Chester Elementary,
it's great,
which
yeah.
is of course decommissioned, there's an old asphalt playground square. It's bigger than this room, but it was just an open space for free play that we, the Complete Streets Committee, with help from a consultant that was working for the town last year, painted out it's like a miniature roadway walkway pattern. It's called a traffic garden. And it's a great place to teach a kid to ride a bike.
neat.
So it's got little stop signs, it's got little crosswalks. You can ride around the outside, or you can go into the center where there's a roundabout. And it's just a really cute little place. I take my grandchildren there on their little bikes and we go around and around. We had an event there last May. It was like the grand opening, and we had a league certified instructor who kind of took kids through his program, and the kids that completed it got a certificate. They got a free helmet. A few kids went home with a bike because we had some donated kids bikes, and it was a great event. We'd love to do that sort of thing
Yeah.
again. It could be there, or it could be
In
at one of
Brantford
the
Manor,
schools,
yeah.
or yeah.
So I don't speak for the superintendent or Jamie Giordano, the principal there, but my 2 cents, the active parking lot would probably be a no-go, but there is that slight hill behind Thames River, which has a big turnaround in the back, which is used for our buses in the
Mhm.
morning and the afternoon.
Mhm.
It also then connects to that field in the back, so you could do on-road and off-road. So that is
Sure, sure.
potentially something to look at.
That-
We have
sure.
cameras back there for security and so forth. So if we want to do something that parents could use after school hours, we don't want the community necessarily coming in and hanging out on the playground during school hours anyway. But after school and weekends, summers, could be a really interesting opportunity
Mhm.
to get that without getting into a congested parking lot in the front.
Right. for sure.
This is the area.
Where the traffic
That's the
garden.
area. And then if you go this way, this is.
I love that traffic
That's
garden.
right
That's
back-
cute. That
right
would be
back
nice in
there. Next to
Branford
where
Manor
that
for
crappy
kids who,
playground was.
Yeah.
their parents say, go ride your bike. And they don't want to kind of leave, go too far from home. There's no adults.
And speaking of that, I've got TRM kind of focused, and I should know, but as far as adding extra protection and reshaping what bike paths and walking paths look like, that feeder going south to north from Branford Manor and even across the street west of Thames River to prioritize those areas for divided biking area or walking or whatever, I think would to me personally would be a priority because it would then encourage safer access for parents with students or students, what have you, getting there. Again,
So, you kind of bring up an issue that we haven't talked about, but that is that the Complete Streets Advisory Committee here is really only for the town. And we are
Gotcha.
a committee of the town of Groton. So
Okay.
we don't really operate at all in the city limits.
Gotcha.
So we like to talk to folks in the city, but it's not a routine line of communication.
Okay.
But the school district encompasses
Sure.
everything,
Sure.
right? So the school district has more of a dispersed kind of influence,
Sure.
which we think is a terrific opportunity.
We can lead it, right? We'll just make it a school initiative.
It's a school thing.
That's why you're here.
That's why you're here. So I have piece of information that I just received today. So I received an email from Ben Moon, who I'm sure some of you know Ben. And this is what Ben writes to us. Hi, Brian. My name is Ben Moon. I'm the director of STEM and magnet programs for Groton Public Schools. I do a lot of work around integrating outdoor learning opportunities for students and was part of the team that formed the Go Groton group, and that was awarded grant funding through the Nature Everywhere initiative. This is a team that included Clint, John Reiner, Denise Sanchez, and Groton Open Space. Clint forwarded me information about tonight's meeting. I'm not able to make tonight, but if you are looking for additional community input support for the projects on the agenda, specifically contacts within Groton Public Schools, I would be interested in participating moving forward. Many thanks for doing this work for our community, Ben. Okay, so Ben, we're glad to have you as part of our special subcommittee on Groton Public Schools and projects in partnership with the Complete Street Advisory Committee.
Ben's also a K through 12 graduate of Groton Public Schools.
Okay, he's a great
Okay.
teacher at CK.
So we don't want to leave today with just kind of a lot of good ideas floating around. It would be great if we could say, let's keep this together. And so I would ask if you three and perhaps Ben and anyone else that you think is highly motivated or interested could form a committee of sorts where you're in close communication and then we're talking back and forth, and maybe we meet again at our next month's meeting.
I would be happy to volunteer to do that. And even after next month's meeting, if selfishly, if this group could help support the efforts that are currently there, and then we could reciprocally work with all of you on how this works. We have decision makers here and so forth. I think it would be great. The grant that I referenced and Ben did as well is we originally got a $20,000 planning grant. We now have received and gotten permission through Board of Ed, RTM, Town Council for a $50,000 grant to continue the work we did during the $20,000 planning stage of it. And we have 3 or 4 projects I believe, in the grant proposal that are earmarked on school campuses. One of them being that perimeter trail really around Groton Middle School, but we're hoping that we can be smart on how it's designed and done so that it links up together. So we could certainly share some of those projects that were approved and awarded the grant dollars plus blessed by the town bodies as a one starting point that we could collaborate on There's the Parks and Rec Bike Initiative, which is another. I like some of these starter projects so that we're working together, kind of prove out the model and then talk about what we could possibly do next.
That sounds
Brian,
great.
can I jump in again?
Yeah, sure.
So Clint, when you were talking about the perimeter trail and
Mhm.
Lori has been on it more recently than I have, if you expanded to include Grasso,
Mhm.
there is a trail that we used to take down towards the back of the property that wound down towards the old, what used to be the old soccer field
Sure.
and leads to the baseball fields. And I
Yep.
don't know, Lori's shaking her head, so I don't know if you can chime in. What's the shape of that? We haven't used it much lately.
I've been there.
I don't really know. It is kind of an odd overgrown area, but yeah, you could definitely link it, and then we link to Haley Farm.
Yeah, and as someone who's just using it because I like to bike back there, there used to be that straight down and there was like a brick building right there or something that you'd walk by and you could get all the way down to the old track and the Grosso track and so forth. Sometimes we get lucky because there's a fence there now and we can get into cut through to Grosso. That's often locked. I don't know why. There could be a perfectly good reason why, but the best and safest way would be if there's some way to bypass that. So you get into the manicured areas of Grosso, which then has a older paved road that goes down. That's another thing. That whole area that's past the ball fields of Sutton Park, where there's an old track right there. It used to be a football field and then a baseball field. A lot of that is overgrown. I believe that's state property.
It is.
So I don't know what we
Yeah,
could or
that's
couldn't
property
do.
of Grasso. So yeah, it's like a state. It's a state
Gotcha.
property.
So if we work closely with the folks at Grasso and the students there, think about what the possibilities are there. That could be a bike track. That could be criterion races on that, or a lot of things. If not, there you could connect through there to get into that path that kind of connects behind Pequannock Bridge with Haley Farm, where the pumping station is right there.
Mhm.
Right now, you kind of have to make it up, and there you can do it, but it's not well marked. It's not. It's for people who are just trying to make it work. But so there's a lot of possibilities. I would love to include the Grosso students and staff and what they're looking for and thinking about other students to kind of help be design partners in this, to help us kind of build out the vision and go. Because again, there's so many pieces that are there. It's just a coordinated effort to kind of pick it up, set some priorities and some goals, and then move forward, in my estimation.
Those are great ideas. So thank you.
Sure. Sorry, I've been talking a lot.
That's
I use
okay.
these trails a lot and I love them. And I
Yeah.
appreciate everyone's work that's done to build these to date. So,
All right. So in the interest of time, we're going to move on now to old business. And the first item is the Noank streetscape. I was unable to attend last week's meeting. They're Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's public hearing.
Public hearing.
For the council.
But you were,
I monitored it. I did not attend it, but I watched it.
Okay.
On the Zoom. And I would say it was probably 50-50, 60-40-ish as far as pros and cons. But they were making compliments and complaints that were all being received by the town councilors. And that's about all. It was just all, there was no commenting at anything or any discussions.
okay, so it's just an opportunity for the public to express their thoughts about that project to the town council.
Right, as a
Right.
public hearing.
As a public hearing, okay. So are you all familiar with it? It's probably, everybody is probably.
I'll bet.
I'll fill you in later. And you know, of course. I mean, I know you kind of have a sense of how degraded the streetscape in or the village of Noank is. It's a wreck. And it's not just what you can see, the drainage system is also in very bad condition. So this project was a very prudent and thoughtful repair for all that. And it included some very modest complete street improvements, which basically were just sidewalks. Replacing the existing sidewalks, but in a couple of places where it's very tricky or challenging for pedestrians, some additional sidewalks. And those in particular have been controversial with residents. Change is hard. It seems very threatening, I think, when it's being proposed to you by a government entity and it's like your community that is being changed. But in my experience in these kinds of small community streetscape projects, when it's done, most people really love it. And they've forgotten about all of that negativity that preceded it. Just take Chester, Connecticut, for example. Anybody that's been there in the past 5, 6, 7 years will walk around down there and go, wow, this is beautiful. This is really great. And if you ask anybody down there, they will go, oh yeah, we really are proud of this place. Well, I was one of the landscape architects. My firm designed that streetscape, and we went through years of controversy and acrimony and attacks on our professionalism because we were changing the existing torn up, degraded, poorly functioning to Chester downtown. And you see it today. So I predict that will happen in Nohank as well. Yes, Patricia.
To be fair, when we were presented with the initial design for the streetscape, it was horrendous.
Well,
And there
agree.
was call for stamped concrete and a ton of signage, and that when we looked at each other and we just laughed. It's like, no, this you can't do this in Noank, and it's not going to fly. So we hadn't heard anything for a long time. And then I looked at one of the meetings. I don't remember which one it was. I don't think it was a council meeting. It was another hearing. And in that other hearing, which is why I never got back to you about whether I wanted to sign the letter or not, there was no mention of any of that. And all they were talking about was rebuilding the main road and whether they were going to put sidewalk on the one side or the other side, right?
Right.
So they hopefully, I don't know who they listened to.
The
But to be
engineers
fair,
went through
it was unrealistic to begin
the
with.
engineers
and
went through a
inappropriate.
process of education.
Yeah.
Where they got religion on what's appropriate in downtown Noank, and they fortunately they adapted their design to meet more of a realistic condition. So I think it went in the right direction eventually, and I think it's a very good plan now. So my assumption is that the town's going to proceed with the modest plans. Do you have any?
Yeah,
understanding of that?
there's kind of some notes that were taken by the town manager as a result of that public hearing. We've already met with the engineer once since that public hearing last week. They've expressed kind of similar sentiment to what you just said, that they are looking to, almost now that Greg is retired, it's just coincided with the timing of that public hearing, the kind of new people on the town side taking over management of the project, and then take a step back, take a breath, almost kind of try to reframe the public perception a little bit. Because if you go back 3 years to the original request for proposals from designers, it very specifically was framed as a maintenance project. And if you go look at kind of the news clippings, there's a lot of words like revamp and overhaul and stuff like that. But the engineer is very cognizant now of the fact that there's a lot of that stuff that is very much not wanted, but at the same time, we do still need to improve the drainage, improve the roadway, improve the access. So they are cognizant of that, and there's a little more work to be done to get it, I think, to where it probably still should be. And I think you're probably never gonna come close to pleasing everybody, but at the same time, there still are needs to be addressed, and knowing that still being addressed. So that's kind of where it's at.
Great. All right. Well, thanks. Okay. So next item has to do with something that Clint, you alluded to as something being desirable, but it's I'm happy to say it looks like a real project, and that is a bikeway between Depot Road, which would start at Industrial Drive. And if you've been on Industrial Drive in the last few months, you've seen that it was repaved and that it was striped with.
Forgive me, situate me.
So Industrial Drive runs alongside the Amtrak facility. It plugs into Depot right at the pump track.
Got it. Thank you.
And then it heads east, and it ties into the GNS trolley trail through
Yeah,
this
it
small
dead ends, and there's some trails right along in the woods just north of it. Yep.
So the town repaved it and striped it with essentially a bike lane on each side. So it creates the beginning of a facility that will connect the city of Groton to the town of Groton. There's a project that has been funded through grants. It's it's in the process of being evaluated by the DOT because most of the project is on state right of way. It's on Route 1 and it's on 649, which is South Road. So it's state right of way. So they're the ones that own it. They're the ones in charge of it. Depot Road, Industrial Drive and Depot Road are the town roads that are part of this bikeway. And the goal of that is to have, if not dedicated bike lanes, at least have kind of shared road provisions, which would include signage and maybe put share roads on the road where there's just not quite enough room from one end to the other. And the western end in the city is Thomas Road, which has those bike lanes you're aware of that go all the way down to Shenanigans. Yes, thank you, Shenanigans. So hopefully the engineering design work will commence relatively soon. I think they're getting close. And then the implementation, I think, will be fairly straightforward. It's mostly just striping. There's one area of South Road that's too narrow that will need to be widened a little bit on one side. But otherwise, it's just kind of tightening things up, putting down stripes and some signage, and at least giving everybody that rides a bicycle a little more space and safer space to get through there, and hopefully also to make those two intersections on Route 1, which are signalized. So it's South Road and Route 1. There's a church on one corner, and Groton Utilities is to the right if you're heading into downtown Groton, say, and then the Depot Road intersection right at Dairy Queen. Those two are very challenging if you're on a bicycle and you're making left turns, especially.
Sure.
You know, it's intimidating. So the hope is that they will become much more bicycle friendly, perhaps with some special spaces and things that give bicyclists a dedicated space. So that's coming. And then I think that needs some of your ideas on your wish list anyways,
Sure.
right? Yeah. Okay. Next up, are there any town projects, Jeff, that we may not know about or that you can update us on?
I'm not sure there's any you don't know about. I'm just kind of piggybacking off the updates from Greg you shared
Yeah.
with me last month.
Uh-huh.
So he had given like a preliminary list of roads.
Right.
Those were unchanged, but they are a little more officially inserted to the CIP for the coming year. So they'll
Okay.
include River Road, Bayview Avenue and Mystic, and then the Bailey Hill subdivision. As far as I know, it's the whole subdivision
Okay.
that's included for that. He had said a month ago there was shared lane markings going through the traffic authority. For a note I have from him, I have yet to go to one of those meetings yet to confirm. He said that they've approved that. That's Route 1 Allen Street to the drawbridge, and then Route 215 Water Street to Ashby. And then finally, he had said that a contractor did the new sidewalk at Kings Highway to Bridge Street on Route 1. We are having them back when the weather warms up. The north end of that, very, very steep, and they were supposed to have modified some existing utilities there to make that ADA compliant. So they'll be coming back, and then we hired them to do, it's just one corner curb ramp in the Midway Oval. We had a request that there's two residents in the same property that are both wheelchair bound. And their curb ramp is not in good shape, so we hired them to, knowing that there's two residents there that come and go in medical vans. So knowing that someone lives there, we're gonna modify that ramp there. That's it as far as updates that I've got.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Just for my own edification, that the road repavement projects that are on the CIP. So we're at the beginning of the budget season here now, so those will need to be evaluated by any more internal evaluation, or are they ready to go to?
No, they are not. They are not. So planning and development sort of organizes the creation of the CIP. So right now we are just getting in projects that will be put into, a decent Excel spreadsheet. I review the narratives. Once all of that is done, it goes to the town manager, who reviews the numbers and either pushes them out or changes the numbers or whatever. From there, it goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission under an 824 review, and then it gets put into the budget book.
So there is a dedicated funding stream for town road resurfacing, I believe, right?
There is a project for that, that's right.
Okay. And in the repaving that you described, River Road, Bailey Hill, and et cetera, you guys, I assume, have done kind of some order of magnitude guesstimation that your projects should theoretically fit within the annual budget for resurfacing.
I would
say that
say the
correct?
words you used to describe it are pretty accurate. They're not any more honed in than that. We don't have, we have high level footprint cost estimates, just
That's right.
using kind of, recent
Right.
projects. for-
Right.
Yep.
Now, River Road, I know that there's a project to redesign some of the culverts that are routinely flooded by high tides and up inland drainage. Would that be included in the resurfacing, or how would that work?
So to use the words of Greg just before he left, we met with some residents and talked about the timing of that. And what he said to some residents we met with was that his intent was to do those projects first, but that River Road basically end to end is in such a state. Again, to use his words, I can wait no longer, so therefore I'll be putting it in next year's budget proposal to resurface River Road.
And that'll probably be a separate CIP project. It won't be just wrapped up into the routine maintenance of roads.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. That one likely will be through a contractor,
Yeah.
not.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
quite a large
that will
project.
be Design and
Yeah,
then.
so we'll have to
budget,
put, we'll have to
there,
put,
Yeah.
So that's gonna go as a separate CIP
separate
from the
CIP, it's much
repaving, because
bigger,
it's a
yeah.
rebuild, right?
Exactly. That's a way bigger project.
And is it realistic that that could happen in this year, that in 2026? It seems like there's still a lot of engineering and design that would need to happen before that.
And I think the money,
It's
part of the
the
money
money
for
average, yeah.
engineering and design, and then the next year it will be hopefully funded for implementation.
Okay, so we're not gonna see new pavement in 2026 on River Road.
That is most likely.
Yeah, okay, that's, I just wanted to
Just
clarify.
curious, I'm assuming at some point they'll talk about, I don't know if you can widen the road in a lot of places or not River Road, but if you had to pick one place in, well, the eastern side of Groton, more people bike and walk on the River Road, as you're well aware, than anywhere else. And I know there's some signage there, which is great, trying to get people to bike and walk on the right side of the correct side of the road. Yeah, okay. Thank
All right.
you.
That also has to be balanced against our MS4 program where we're trying to reduce impervious surface. So.
Got
Yeah.
it, got it.
Yeah.
Fair
Little
enough.
attention there.
Fair enough. Thank you.
For sure. Okay, well, that's really the end of our agenda, so we don't have any other visitors. And so I think we're ready to adjourn.
May I ask? I'm sorry, I know we're running late, so forgive me very quickly. And I don't know if the scope of this body or whatever, but there has been a long time wish, and I know a lot of work done on a north-south trail, starting in Groton, ending in Preston. And my understanding has always been that some of the issue has been, you know where I'm talking about. What is the official name? Is it?
The Tri-Town Trail.
I always think of Tri-Town Trail as the one up in, yeah.
It would exist in Groton under the vision of a continuous.
Is there,
Give you a
has,
background what we get to here.
okay, gotcha. Has there been any movement lately, or is that?
Give you the whole story.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to take up people's time if they're not interested.
All right, good. So,
I move to adjourn.
can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you all very much. I'm adjourning the meeting at 4:50. Thank you all. Yeah,
Very
thank you
interesting.
very much.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure to meet you and to hear your input.